Welcome back to another edition of the City That Never Sleeps show. Your host Brandon Pockers, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Toomey. How you doing today?
Hey, a lot of great things happened last week. I'm doing good. A lot of great things coming up. Can't wait to get into it.
Before we get started, I want everybody who's listening a happy Wednesday. If you're taking time out of your day to the show, and you need to spend time with a significant other, we appreciate your time. I don't think either of us have to exactly worry about that right now, but hey, that's okay. We're gonna bring a great show. Lots of Jets quarterback. We got a Super Bowl to recap. We're gonna give you an update on how our bets did. There was a crazy NBA trade deadline, and there was also a big trade. So we got a lot of new news to cover. Before we jump into everything, do you want to give any opening thoughts for?
I guess to start, what a Super Bowl. We'll get into that later. But just to add, a lot of great things in sports. I tallied a bunch of notes from every sport. Doesn't matter, basketball, hockey, football, baseball. We even got news now. So there's a lot to talk about in this episode. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So I think it's time to jump right into it. With the NFL season coming to an end, alluded to before, the Super Bowl was this past weekend. Now time for the NFL offseason to get into full swing. And I think that has been reported is the movement of quarterback outside of the coaching hires, but that's to be expected. And the first domino in the Jets quarterback situation is Aaron Rodgers. As everyone knows, Aaron Rodgers is going on to put it in the best terms possible, a darkness retreat, where he's essentially a room for 4 days, and I don't know if it's getting high or not, but it's just the most Aaron Rodgers thing that he could possibly do. And I think that's the perfect place to start. So, when it comes to Rodgers, where are you at on him right now?
So first, to touch on with his darkness retreat, listen. You love talking about Pat McAfee show. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and they're talking about this. So it's 4 days. He's in a room, complete darkness, surrounded by nothing to do, just to think. They provide food every once in a while, and he's just supposed to sit there and just unwind and just relax for 4 days straight in the darkness. Supposedly, he quoted himself that it is supposed to mimic somewhat of a DMT trip. So there's no getting high. It's only I don't know just how it works, but it's own little mental games with it. But yeah, it's I guess this is what's going to decide where his future goes. Hopefully he goes through something. I guess I don't really know what to say about it. It's just, I could not imagine doing it myself. I remember seeing the guys on the show, they were joking about him. Like, I don't even think I could do that for a day. But hey, maybe it brings him, maybe he sees the NY Jets logo while he's doing this. And maybe it gives him some foresight of what he wants to do. But besides that, I guess we'll find out when he's done with this retreat.
Thinking about right, isn't this basically solitary confinement, like willing solitary confinement, which is like really illegal?
I would say it's a legal version of it. I guess this falls into the category of a meditative retreat, and it's his own well-being. This is his choice to do this. He's not being forced to do this, so it's under his own power. But yeah, no, I would consider it solitary confinement for 4 days.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. We could talk about the Aaron Rodgers interesting ways of thinking for an entire show, to be honest, and how that impacts different things. But at the end of the day, I personally think Rodgers is the first domino in this situation. I think that his decision is going to impact the Jets because he's the first guy the Jets are going to go out. And this ties into second topic and the second quarterback, where Derek Carr is now, or will be I think basically during the show at 4 p.m. today or 4 p.m. tomorrow, in the sense of he did not accept a trade to the Saints. He was still looking at the Saints. He wants to pick his destination. The Jets immediately linked to him. No surprise there. Jets are going to be looking everywhere, and anywhere veteran quarterback. The other few linked to him are teams like the Buccaneers, and this where it's most likely probably be the Jets or the NFC South. Now I have some thoughts I want to about Carr, but when you heard that released to me, what was your thought process on that?
About what? That he doesn't want to get traded?
No, like when you heard Carr get released. So I guess the way to frame it is, with both Carr and Rodgers potentially being available, where would you your attention first?
My attention would be Carr. I said it last week, just in the sense that he's more of a long-term option, I feel. And this is not a guy that you're going to have for a couple of years and be like, oh, he's going to fail, like we've seen with previous Jets quarterbacks. Rodgers is going to be on a 2-year deal. And then it comes to the question, it's hard to win in the NFL. And saying that Rodgers is going to come in and win in 2 years, it's tough to say that that's going to happen. So I'd rather have a guy long-term with Derek Carr. But just to say that, I think it's good news that he didn't want to get traded. He kind of wants to shove it to the Raiders organization, it sounds like, and he wants to sign in free agency. That's what I feel from that.
I think that with Carr % going to be on the open market, and teams having in him, such as the Jets, I think that it depends what the Jets, because you go after Carr first, there's a shot you can circle back, but at that point is Rodgers even come to you. If you go to Rodgers first, how long does that process take? In that time frame, or do you even have a shot at getting? So I think it's a balancing act in the sense of the Jets have to decide what they want their option to be and what they want their number 2 option to be, and that's going to dictate go about this, because you also have the potential of a Lamar Jackson on the market, in the sense of he's probably gonna get franchise tag. He's probably more, and that entire situation can blow up. But that's probably not going to happen as fast as the Rodgers and Carr are going to move. So are you going to wait out on that? Probably not. And that becomes more realistic if you miss on both Rodgers and Carr. And then you have the other quarterbacks, the Jimmy Garoppolos, the Ryan Tannehills, and 2 in 1 second. But this all ties into the question of the day. The Jets will have their new quarterback before March. So it is currently 14th. Jets will have their new quarterback before. That is our question of the day. Leave your comments, agree or disagree with that. But circling back to this, I personally would probably go after Rodgers first. I think Rodgers fits the more win now aspect of this team, and it's your team to a higher level than Carr. And I'm saying that I don't like Carr. I think that in the sense of need out of basically playing in the AFC, the top of the top. So that's why I target the Lamar Jackson first. And then, unfortunately, if things go sideways, you probably are stuck with a Jimmy Garoppolo, a Ryan Tannehill. Is that the end of the world? No, better than what you had. But that's not in terms of sole quarterback in a vacuum. You're not with Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, Lamar. Like, you're not competing with those type of players. If you get weaker quarterback, but that's not taking into account the things like that. So it goes hand in hand.
No, yeah, it's when it comes down to, I think we would be disappointed as Jets fans if we ended up with a guy like Tannehill or Jimmy G could be away, but I sense the Jacoby Brissett. I think Tannehill falls under the same I guess category as Tannehill there. So when it comes down to it, I mean, there's going to be a lot that happens before March. I'd be pretty excited if it happens before March. I guess as soon as possible, so we don't have to worry about this. I know as Jets fans, we've had to see a lot of things during free agency that haven't worked out our way. So to get a guy before March, that'd be awesome. I disagree with that, though. I feel like it's going to be a little less. I'd like to hear your input on that as the Jets insider newsman. So, but really, when it comes down to it, if you're not getting one of those top guys, then I think it's a failed offseason at the quarterback position.
I think this question is predicated on Aaron Rodgers. I think Derek Carr is going to take his time into March. I don't think he's going to immediately make a decision unless his market is much smaller than what I personally would expect it to be. A league where so many teams need quarterbacks, like the Buccaneers, the Saints, the Jets. You could argue the Panthers. I think they're going a rookie route though. The Saints. These are teams that need quarterback. I think Carr is going to drum up interest from these different fields, these different teams, try best and highest offer. It could be the Jets.
But now, I want to pose the question now. Out of all those teams that you just said who are looking for a quarterback, if you're a quarterback, which team would you want to go to? If you're between the Saints or who else did you say?
I'm pulling up for Carr now. Where I think so obviously the Saints and Jets are linked. Then obviously the Buccaneers are out there. The Panthers potentially. The Jets are definitely high up on the list because they have the young talent. They are going to add more talent, but I think the Panthers are a rated landing spot. I think they're on the same level, a little better than the Jets in terms of not organizationally, but in terms of talent. They're very similar teams. Where I think if Carolina, a few additions with some of the cap space they had to quarterback, I think they're competing. If not this year, probably next year. But case is Carr going to a team like Buccaneers. I think that they're a better landing spot than them. Quite frankly, the Jets are a much better landing than the Saints. So technically, the Jets are probably the best landing spot. But here's the issue, though: the NFC South is probably position in football, and that's the difference. That is the major difference. NFC is a weaker conference. The NFC South is the weakest conference in football. Yes. It is. And like that matter as much? Depends. Does Derek Carr one easy path to the playoff? Because I'll be honest with you, when it goes to a team like the Buccaneers, he's immediately the best quarterback in that division. Because let's go through it real quick. As of the Buccaneers quarterback is either Kyle Lane Gabbert. I'll let that one sit for a minute. The Saints either have Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton. And the Panthers currently only quarterback on the roster, I'm pretty sure, is PJ Walker. And the Falcons have Den Ritter.
Not a lot of competition.
No, slightest. And that's not taking other factors that are in the play, but Buccaneers had Derek. They're a low level play winning that division. Panthers had Derek Carr. You probably have the best shot at the division as it stands. The Saints, Adam, same thing. So that's where the Jets run into an issue if they go after Rodgers first, which I'm still on board doing. I think it gives you a high feeling, but you're opening up the fact that one, Carr realizes your first option for them, and two, why at that point he might be leaning towards NFC South anyway. So it would enhance his decision. All of this, I don't think the Jets have their quarterback before. I think it happens in March. I think we're talking like probably when we're in Nashville. We're probably gonna get news about the Jets quarterback then. I'm saying like on March 13th, March 15th. Quite honestly, I think Carr is still one of the more realistic options. Number, they're already him, and number two, it's only money. You're not giving up draft capital for him, and that's very, very important for that. We've gone over this. They still need most likely multiple 50s, offensive line help. And even considering if you want to add your wide receiver, because you have to cut guys to get more cap room.
There's when you really go dive deep into it, the only thing that's going to make these decisions are these quarterbacks. So they can look at all they want. I think of it, if I'm a quarterback in the league and I see that division in the AFC South and I see that free pass, well, nothing's ever free in the NFL, but that division as a whole, that's enticing. That's a good. I think if a Carr gets placed on a team like the Saints, who has that solid defense, or Buccaneers, who has really a lot of weapons around them, that's enticing. That's a team that can definitely make a playoff push and be a contender right at the start. I think Carr would do better than what Brady did last year.
Yeah, most likely. Also, you got to take into account the coaching there. The coaching is going to be completely different.
Is Bowles out?
Not Bowles, the offensive staff. Though.
Okay, because we've seen Bowles as a coach before, and we know how that goes.
Yeah. So getting into some of the comments, we got Brian. What's up, Brian? He says he's going to have to discredit to the poll. I think they get it after March. I do think Derek Carr will be the Jets' quarterback. He will not rush decision. Exactly. He won the free agency reason. There's no need to sign in February. It's not business in my eyes, at least. We got Rob in the chat. Agreed to the poll. Think it gets done draft weekend again, and then Brian once again. Panthers, but he's not much better. He's a free agent, I'm pretty sure. So the opt to bring him back, but he's a free agent after. I think it's his 5th-year option this year. So they need to decide whether they want to bring him back in any capacity. So to really round out this conversation about the Jets quarterbacks, so I want to bring two hypotheticals to the table. So number one, let's say the Jets miss out on. We kind of talked about this, but this is going more in. Let's say they miss out on Rodgers. He goes through all intents and purposes. Carr goes to New Orleans, or either gets traded to an Atlanta, and stays in Baltimore. What are your options from there, and how do you rank them?
Run through that one more time. You're blowing my mind with it.
So, and the crazy part is this isn't in a 100% unlikely scenario. I think the Jets got one of these guys, but this can happen.
Yeah.
So say Rodgers goes to a Tennessee or a Vegas.
Okay.
Let's say Carr goes to a New Orleans. Lamar Jackson is traded to either an NFC team like an Atlanta, or he stays in Baltimore. How are you ranking the remains, and really like why? And then this will tie into the second question, the second hypothetical I want to bring up.
Okay, so then it gets to the point where if you're Joe Douglas, you have to do something. You have to get a quarterback that I'd have to say is out there on the market. So then we hop into those guys like Jimmy G. We hop into the Brissett. We hop into the Tannehill. And then I think it comes down to we'd end up with a guy like Jacoby Brissett. I think that's the most realistic option there. And then it all comes down to the Jets don't have aspirations for a Super Bowl next year. That's just how it ends up with that. And hopefully you save some cap. You have the possibility to make moves and you go after a quarterback in next year's draft. And then the Jets would have to play this game again of finding the diamond in the rough of the NFL draft.
Yeah. So my rankings as it stands on February 14th, things can obviously change. Number one for probably Ryan in the sense of considering the hires, hired Todd Downing, the former tight ends offensive coordinator. They hired Keith Carter earlier in the season, the former offensive line coach for C. However you feel about them, a sense of familiarity there. Connor of SNY said the Jets may be higher on most people think. Actually, you get Tannehill, you're probably a hurt team. That's much better than where the Jets have been recently.
True.
He's not getting over the hump, not in the AFC, but especially with Breece Hall coming, especially with a number one in Garrett Wilson. We've seen Tannehill succeed. We have seen him succeed with a strong run game, and we've seen him succeed with a number one. The Jets have number two for me, and I don't think Takey. I think Kobe Brissett's number 2 out of those options because considering what he won, I think he played better than Deshaun Watson, and it wasn't really close. You pull up stats to back that up, but he was a more passer. He moved the offense better, and he kept clean in a lot of games. Now, again, he's not getting over the top, and I don't think he's necessarily a great quarterback, but it's better than what you. And then I have Jimmy Garoppolo, and this is a knock on Jimmy's talent because I think Garoppolo is a fine quarterback. I have a fear that a Jimmy Garoppolo signing equals Zach Wilson starting by 7 because Garoppolo has an injury that knocks him out for 3 weeks, or Garoppolo has a shoulder that knocks him out for 5 weeks, and then Zach Wilson back in there in a season where you're supposed to take the next step after a season where, and however it happened, this is true, he lost the locker room. He did.
Yeah.
You could tell whether you want to believe he fought it back at all or not. There was a point in time where he lost the locker room, and unless he pulls the biggest 180 that I've ever pulled, it's going to be hard for him. And this is if he's even on the roster at this point, which I think is more likely than not. But that's not a guarantee. Could be a different quarterback you have on your roster starting.
You have to earn back. It's not going to just be given to him and handed out, put on a plate. He'd have to show it through play. And I don't see that happening.
Exactly. And this leads to the second question. So there was a mock draft by I think it was Deontay of The Athletic. Where Jets traded up to draft Bryce Young. From I think 13 the Knicks. And I phrased it in his mock draft was all these packages was a first and a second or a first and some late combination of picks. I was very interested in this.
Yeah.
Because as much as I'm not exact on the draft, the quarterback, Bryce Young would be an incredible piece for the Jets to pick. I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. Him, Jay Stroud. It kind of goes hand in hand. In that sense, right? What would it take for you Jets to draft a quarterback? Because I'll start this time. I think if you end up with a Garoppolo, a Tannehill, a bet, I'm gonna try to draft like early in a much earlier pick than what I would do if I had a Rodgers or Carr, 4th round or later. If I had Tannehill or Brissett or one of these guys, I'm trying to draft something. Something just went flying in my room. I'm pretty sure those are my headphones. Don't check dials, guys. So, I think that's what is important. Like, I feel like that would be important for the Jets in that case. Like, if Bryce Young's in that range, like if he falls to an 8 or 9, and you're sitting and you think you can go up and get him, that could be your guy. And I'm not saying that's 100%. I would be I'd be fine with it if the Jets trade up for a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud. I argue a Will Levis, but I'd more so Anthony Richardson in that situation. On that.
Yeah, no. Now, what I'd say, I think the opportunity to get a guy like Bryce Young, I agree with you that he's the top quarterback in the draft. I'm not a fan of Ohio State quarterbacks, so that just shoots Stroud right out of there. But when it comes down to that, I feel like you go after a guy like Young in the draft if Rodgers, Carr, and Jackson made their decisions. If they're not out there and there's no opportunity to get them, then the possibility of going for a Young in the draft comes up. What you're saying, I don't think Young's going to fall, though, in the draft.
Shouldn't. But
Couldn't.
Here's the thing with that. He's a smaller back. He's probably not going to measure in at 11. So the NFL teams could be like, and we saw this to an extent of Russell Wilson. A lot of teams may be like, hey, he's too short to play. And I don't think that's the right way to look at it in the modern NFL. But there's also the possibility that a guy like that falls a few slots from where he should. And let's say the O lineman the Jets want to draft, they're off the. You're not reaching for a line in that spot. You're not reaching for a receiver in that spot. That would be more of a trade down. So if Young was in the, this is obviously if you have a Garoppolo, a Tannehill, a quote unquote bridge guy. Like you're probably signing them to a 2-year deal with a team after year 1 or something like that. In that case, yeah, I am looking into the rookie class and seeing what I can do.
I mean, when I look at the draft order, I just see a lot of teams who I think should jump at Bryce Young at the first opportunity they get. I mean, the Bears taking the first pick is a sign right there already. Then you got the Texans who have 2 picks in front of the Jets. You got a team like the Colts who are out there looking. You got a team like the Seahawks who, you know what, they do have Geno Smith, but how long do they think Geno Smith's going to last up there? Then you got a team like the Lions, same situation. Jared Goff had a phenomenal year. I think they stick with Jared Goff, but hey, Jared Goff can't play there forever. He's already in his mid-30s now.
Yeah, so looking at the draft order from 1 to 13, because that's where the Jets, the teams that could potentially, obviously the Bears shouldn't, but can you ever really rule that out? No. Houston, Indy. I don't think Seattle will, but potentially. I don't think Detroit will, but potentially. Vegas, potentially Atlanta, potentially Carolina. That's Young should be gone by 9 at the very latest, and that's where the Jets would have to trade up. If I'm looking at a trade up scenario, well, this is the pick that they did in the draft. They're gonna have to trade up to Detroit at 6. They're gonna have to jump those teams if they wanted to do that. Now, our Jets organization to accept a rookie quarterback in a year where coaching staff could be fired, that's something else you have to consider as well.
Yeah, there's a lot that would have to happen. But back to what I was saying, I feel like if those guys are still on the table, Rodgers, Carr, Lamar, if they're still up in the air, people don't know what they're doing, then I think you stay away from them, bro. But I would not be upset with a guy like Bryce Young. I mean, we would go through the, I guess, another phase of looking what a rookie quarterback can do for the Jets. At least Bryce Young has a better track record than a lot of the previous quarterbacks we went with. But it comes down to another just flip of a coin. It really seems with these Jets rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, and then you're opening yourself first because it's like, oh, Wilson and Bryce Young on the same roster. Ooh, and then it's like, at that point, Wilson has to be gone. Like, at that point, you can't carry Wilson. Too much controversy. But at the end of the day, before we wrap up the Jets conversation, I think the Rodgers domino is going to be the first that determines how the Jets choose back. Should that be the case? Very arguable. I think that there's a very good you brought up today, Toom. They should pursue Carr first and not really think about the Rodgers scenario. I don't know if the Jets do that though. But at the end of the day, those two dominoes fall. Can you maybe go after Rodgers and pursue Carr afterward? Sure, but you're opening up to risk. And this entire scenario is risk because the Jets shouldn't have even been in this scenario in their eyes. They draft a guy, their franchise guy. The only reason they're in this situation is because that didn't work out. Teams build on the rookie quarterback scale. When that doesn't happen, you have to pivot. And just up a good point in the comment. We'll get to that in one sec. Don and David say, "What's up, guys? Thank you guys for listening today." Things up. About Preston's. I would love Prescott. Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe that isn't. I think the best quarterback I've had in at least a decade. I think he would be a great fit for the guys they have on offense, and I think he'd bring to the playoffs. And at that point, that's what you're asking for. Switching for out of it, your back. Cousins, I think in the same fashion. I think I like Prescott a bit more than Cousins in that scenario, though. What do you think, Nick?
When it comes down, no, I like what you said before, just about the Prescott and Cousins. Are those are actually opportunities for them to leave?
Well, it's just like people float those names all the time, but I personally don't think the team should move off guys because they're not in a position to get the backups. But you never know. You never know what the crazy things happen all the time.
No, it is that's just. I mean, hey, from what we've seen with the Jets, I would take anyone really. That's how you can jump off. Anything's better than Zach Wilson, what we saw last year. So anything is a plus up. When it comes down to it, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm still stuck on, I think, Carr 1, Rodgers 2. And I don't think Lamar's leaving, so I don't think I'm going to put his name out there, but I'd be ecstatic to have Lamar Jackson. But I don't know. It's tough. All this Jets talk. It's all just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, we have a fun offseason forward to where we will see this happen. We got the combine coming up soon. We'll have news on quarterback rumors and all as we progress through the show. So stick with us. We're gonna be covering it all. It's gonna be interesting Jets offseason in the sense of how offensive coordinator hire and the senior offensive assistant hire looked at when they get back. So interesting to see. I'm excited to see it because this will dictate most likely how the next one goes. So it's time to move on. But before we talk about the Super Bowl, I want to remind you guys, Window Design Center, serving New York, New Jersey, and Florida. They're a fully authorized Douglas dealer. Contact Jeff at 609-6 for a free consultation. And also, all campus getting 20% off everything in their store, including hats and shirts to all subscribers. Make sure to get in on that. Well, just like we said at the NFL season came to a finish on Sunday as the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 35 to me. What were your first thoughts, first reactions to that game?
First, we finally got the playoff game we were hoping for. Besides the final 2 minutes, that game was back and forth, so exciting to watch. Those two teams gave the fans what they expected. The only thing they could ask for was maybe a better finish, but besides that, it was one of the best games we saw all year, and it was good to see that the NFL ended the way it did. Happy to see the Chiefs won. It was a hell of a fight between both organizations, and there's a lot to talk about, a lot to see. I mean, I have a ton of notes here. I know we'll get into that later, but no, it was very exciting. I'll just add too, I was completely wrong again, both of us. Throw that out there. Eagles did not win, but I feel like from watching that game, we'll get into it too. The Eagles, we'll get into it. I want to hear what you guys say, and then we can get into what we saw actually from what the game.
So we will get into the last 2 minutes because I do have some thoughts on what transpired with how the game ended, but I think that truly was a incredible game, and it was a game that these were the two best teams in the NFL. The Chiefs on the AFC side and the Eagles on the NFC. First reaction, I said this to some of my friends during the game. Jalen Hurts proved everything I need, and he's been doing that all year. Did it in spades. He made every throw. He carried the team with his running ability when they couldn't get their run game going. And despite having a critical, he was able to bounce back and do as much as he could to keep the Eagles in that game. That game was not lost because Hurts. In fact, the main reason the Eagles stayed in that game is because Jalen Hurts. On the other hand, Mahomes, I think it's time to argue that he's already a Hall of Famer. I mean, look at 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 rings, all the accolades you could ask for and on top of that, the intangibles too, battling through injuries. I've never seen a quarterback run like that and move like that on a high end. Probably some medical things included that are amplifying that, but at the same time, he just continues to show that he's the standard for NFL quarterbacks, and you can't really compare anyone to him. He's the standard, but he isn't the standard. He's the bar to aspire to, but he's also a liar. It's very similar to the Josh Allen sense where no Josh Allen in the things that he can do. Those are my quick hits. Before we get back, the Raiders have officially released Derek. That news is now. Teams linked are the Saints, Panthers, Jets, and Indians. So that's just confirming the card news from here. So back to our Super Bowl conversation.
No, yeah. So I guess I can just start with. It's funny you brought up my first note I had just from the game and on the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback in the league, and you can argue his position there. That's the first thing I saw from that. For a guy, I mean, I put his numbers down: 27 to 38, 304 yards in the air with a passing touchdown, 70 rush yards. I think it was on 15 or so carries, 3 rushing touchdowns. Ties the Super Bowl record for rushing touchdowns. It was an immaculate game. One mistake was that fumble, and that's really it. When it came down to it, the Eagles' offense did not lose this game. They did everything they had to do. Some plays here and there could have been different, but I put the notable name down to players. Devontae Smith, 7 for 100. Great game. Saw some great catches from him. A.J. Brown, 6 for 96 and a touch. Did his job. That's why they brought him here in the offseason and do plays. He did his job. Dallas Goedert, 6 for 60. I think he had the catch of the game on the sideline. There's a lot of controversy with that too, but I thought it was a catch as well. And then I think the game falls on the defense. I'll get into that in a sec. Mahomes did what he did. Didn't have as stellar game as Jalen Hurts, but he had a game that proved why he is the MVP and why he is the, I think, unanimous best quarterback in the league. 182 for 3 touchdowns. That big rush at the end on the winning drive on the ankle. I think the second best player on that offense wasn't Travis Kelce. I think it's Isaiah Pacheco. He proved that he came in at the biggest stage that you can and really carried that offense for a little bit with some heavy running, big touchdown. And I think he was the biggest part of that offense, especially in the second half. Travis Kelce did a great job. But I think the true winner of this game for the Chiefs, the O-line. You heard them talk about before. Andy Reid brought it up. They protected Mahomes the entire game. Mahomes was dancing a little bit, but I think you got to give that win to the O-line, and they doing a terrific job protecting Patrick Mahomes, especially with his ankle.
Yeah, Don and Miles Sanders sucks. Hope no one pays him. No, like it's easy to rag on Sanders, but let's not forget the Chiefs' best defensive front in the NFL. They are unheralded. But Karlaftis has done great this year. Chris Jones, one of, if not the best defensive tackle in football. Let's not discredit the Chiefs front, but at the same time, no, Sanders did not have a great game. Gainwell looked better. Boston looked better. Hurts was able to run a little bit, but that Eagles attack, for the most part, they still were able to hit some bigger plays. But for the most part, they were able to shut down. The Chiefs were able to Eagles rushing attack. I agree with everything you said. By the way, Pacheco, the Chiefs went for a running back for so long, like it was essentially that missing key for them, and they found it. They found it with 2 guys, because Jerick McKinnon is also a key part of defense, especially in the receiving game. We saw him get utilized. I'm excited to see Kadarius Toney bigger role next season, and he is spark plug for them, the most explosive receiver that they have on that roster. Travis Kelce, Sky Moore, a fun piece too that I think interesting if they involve both him and Toney, but they kind of do some of the same things. And honestly, I think the Chiefs and Andy Reid showed why they are one of, if not team in the league. Andy Reid also showed the greatest coaches of all time, and he finally has the Super Bowls to back that. He now has multiple Super Bowls. He has coaches in the league for a very long time. He has continued to show that, and Don brings it up. Jonathan Gannon, he didn't do great. It was very interesting half where the Chiefs and Andy Reid started exploiting a certain factor of defense. That whip route that they kept running, the one that they got the Toney touchdown and the touchdown on, is essentially the same type of play. It was very interesting that both times, the first time the defensive back got lost, and they were in zero. So Mahomes saw that, got it out. To Don's point, Gannon didn't adjust when in that same sort of situation, but flipped to their side. The Eagles fell for it again. I was very, very intrigued how that specific, and I remember seeing the specific play. I have that in front of me right now. The way they exploited that chink, that weakness was very imperative for the Chiefs, and Kadarius Toney's return. That was genetic. You could argue that if he scored at touch, he should have been Super VP. But over an incredible game out of the last 2 minutes.
Yeah. To touch on two things before we get into that, I mean, the big thing too, we were talking about Andy Reid. It was different play calling. I mean, it's a different game than what previous Super Bowls we saw. They lose a guy like Tyreek Hill, where we saw in the first Super Bowl they won. They used him heavy. Those big plays he made down the field are what pretty much brought them back into that game to win their first Super Bowl. And then now when you have to switch a completely different thing, there were no really big plays. It really took a great mastermind performance by Andy Reid and great play calling to really just confuse this defense. And the one stat I have that was the biggest thing I think of the whole game, Eagles defense the previous last 3 weeks, not including week 18, because that was a weird game against the Giants. There weren't really anyone playing. 3 sacks last week, 5 sacks the week before against the Giants, and then 7 sacks against the Saints week 17. And to hold them to 0 sacks, I think that's the game right there. Just not getting the desired pressure they wanted on Mahomes.
That was one of our key aspects coming into this week. We were very concerned about how that Eagles front seven was going to affect the Chiefs. And we said it was going to go back the other way, that the Chiefs front seven was underrated and that they might give Eagles problems. We were more concerned about how that Eagles front seven was going to affect the Chiefs. It didn't. It really didn't. Mahomes able to evade was shocked by. I thought he'd be more stationary. They were able to move it and get quick passes out, counteract the pressure. And they did it in a way where they got the ball to their playmakers in space and also were able to exploit weaknesses in the Eagles defense. And I think the biggest thing, you brought this up, and watching Mahomes every year of his career, he's probably my favorite quarterback in the NFL. He showed greatness this year because he didn't have Tyreek. He had to become a different type of quarterback. He couldn't, and he wasn't anymore. That throwing the 90, 80-yard touchdown passes down Tyreek Hill, scoring like that. He didn't anymore. But what he did have was a array depth wide receivers. And the fact that the Chiefs' offense was still to function at that high level, and obviously Chelsea is a huge for that. It shows how amazing this is. Andy Reid's greatness, Mahomes' greatness, and how the things mesh together to create a force in the AFC.
But no, yeah, it was a hell of a game. I mean, it really proved it was a real chess match. The two coaches were playing on offense specifically. And when it was the 3rd highest scoring Super Bowl in history. Followed second was that Eagles-Patriots one we saw, where the Eagles won their first one. But so much excitement. But the 2 minutes, I know you brought that up before. I wish I had the full play-by-play in front of me to follow, because obviously memory's hazy. But that game was decided in the final 2 minutes, and I think every fan was very upset. I noticed on Twitter as well that every fan was chirping the referees due to the call. It was, I don't know, old NFL, that wouldn't be a call, obviously, but on the biggest stage, what do you expect a referee to do? I mean, he's doing his job. Let's just put that in perspective. And he saw something. Bradbury admitted to it. So it really came down to that one play. And I knew it. I was like, right when they get this first down, it's over.
So I guess it's time to talk about the negative. The Super Bowl. Don brings it up. NFL paid $800,000 on a grass field. It was a great idea. He's saying that might have been the worst field I've ever seen. It literally looked like a mudslide. Like God could not plant. They could not move. I'm both teams complaining about it after the game. It was just a matter of. I was very, very surprised that for the Super Bowl the field was this bad. And was that a halftime show? Things like that. Never know. But circling back to the refs, and this is where in these last 2 minutes it comes into play. The first thing that stood out to me with the refs was the whole Dallas Goedert situation where the Eagles tried to get up to the line, all the play, but into the boundary or the out of bounds. Chiefs were able to substitute, and then the Eagles tried to snap the ball, and the Chiefs challenged, and then what do you call it? The how do I put it? The play couldn't get called, and it got held. It was just a whole. If that play got reversed, I think Eagles fans would have right then and there. Sense of, so you let them challenge it even when we're able to snap the ball, run another. That play gets called dead, and there was like a flag that came out. It was just a very weird situation. But that was really it. That was it until 2 minutes of the game, where the James Bradbury flag was called. And I have a if it's a weird stance on this or not, but I personally think you could argue it probably was pass interference. I'm a proponent of feel the game. You got to know what's going on. It is the Super Bowl. You cannot have that play decide the game. And look, I get it. Probably was a penalty. I just don't. I don't agree with the. I don't agree with the game like that, because all the Chiefs did, kneel, kick a field goal, game over. It's the most anticlimactic ending for one of the better Super Bowls in recent memory. I think there's a moment where it's like you could argue there's pass interference on half the passes in an NFL game at any given time. Ticky-tack calls. This guy pulled, that guy pulled that. It happens all the time. And we saw it early in the game. We're going across the middle. A receiver got pulled. Looked like potentially PI. So if you're gonna not call that borderline earlier in the game, why are you calling the border late in the game? It just we've talked about this on the show before. For me, it's about consistency. I need consistency with the call. We're gonna call it one way, call it that way every single time. If you're gonna call it another way, just call it that way every single time. Have some feel with what you're doing. And I get it. We're human. But that situation, in my eyes, just can't be decided like that.
And again, I've been watching the play for a while. I'm looking at it right now, too. It doesn't seem like that much contact. I've seen more not get called. And you can agree with me on that for sure, right?
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So when it comes down for the game to be decided like that, it stinks, especially for the Eagles. For the Chiefs, they'll take it. But that was the game right there. Like you said, they played the smart route. We even saw Isaiah Pacheco do the nice little, doing his best Brendan Jacobs stop on the 1 yard line imitation. But that's how it ended. It was a phenomenal game. Nothing can take away from that. But going back to it, fans would like, and I think all of us would like, for them to hold that off and see the final 2 minutes of what would have been. If that doesn't get called, that's probably the greatest game of all time. in Super Bowl. I really think, but Patriots, you got to throw that out there. Patriots, Falcons. But still, I mean, there would have been a lot more touchdowns, a lot more plays. Probably what went to OT, if you had to guess.
Do you think Jalen Hurts is in the field to win the game?
Drive down that field easy, especially with the time they would have had. It would have been what, a minute 30, I think, somewhere around there.
Because they would only be down. It's just a matter of they getting a touchdown drive. I don't know. I think it probably goes to overtime. I think you're at legal chance, and I think Elliott probably is hitting it. If that game goes to overtime, it's a top four.
And it would have been the highest scoring game in Super Bowl history. So,
yeah, it's just, that the game ended that way. At the end of the day, I think we should look back on it as a game that was incredible and not let the last decide it. But at the same time, you're not going to talk about that game without that play. Yeah. It's because play that decided the game, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about it. Just a hell of a performance, and it was the offense versus offense, and we love to see it as fans, especially the more basic fan who doesn't really like watching defense that much. But it gave everyone what they wanted. Nice halftime show. There were no complaints at all about that game until the final 2 minutes. Yeah, it just really was. It was two stellar teams going at it. And
Rihanna was incredible.
She was good. No, it was a hell of a performance. She big kudos to Rihanna for that. But it makes you itch for now more football. It really does.
That's always the thing. It's always happy to watch the Super Bowl, but it's sad because the season ends. But another thing to talk about. So our football discussion is not good. We did have our City Sleeps Big Game Parlay, and
let go.
Came close-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some good picks. So my personal grades, I had a bet for $900. I missed out on legs. A Kenny Gainwell touchdown, which that hurt so damn bad because that touchdown got called back, and Mahomes did not get over 274. Other one where I missed out on it. Kelsey didn't have a second touchdown, which could happen in overtime and Gainwell. So I came very close. I didn't do great, but very close. But Carlos in the chat saying Derek Carr is a free agent. We touched that a little bit ago. So are the Jets going to try for Derek Carr just released? Just to summarize for anyone that hasn't heard, we talked about earlier. It's gonna be interesting to see if the Jets go after Carr first or Rodgers, and how they decide to approach that. I personally think they're gonna go after first. Do I think that's the best? I'd probably not, but we shall see.
Yeah, they're so high right now on Rodgers. I think they're just gonna go full ahead on Rodgers to start, and hopefully no one jumps at Carr and gives him something really enticing for him to really decide too soon. But like we were saying before, I think it's really just gonna be the Jets going after Rodgers. I think you touched on it. You agree?
Yeah. So for our parlay, we were I didn't even see the official line. Apparently the national anthem line was like over minutes. It had 110 seconds. I think we hit that. I think we did that.
We hit our line. I don't know I couldn't find a bet for it.
I think the line was like 204 or something.
The real line was 202, and it hit like 201 or something like that. It was really close to 2, but our line of 1.
Ours hit. So we got off to a great start. Line.
Then what? What do you got for me?
Miles Sanders touchdown. Oh boy, we missed on that one.
Yeah.
I did not like. Hands up. Honest here, didn't think Miles Sanders was going to have bad of a game. Really did. I'm going to find more room to run. And that's what's saying I really like the Chiefs front. I think they were going to have good of a game. to shut him down. Then we had Travis Kelce touchdown. That's basically free money at that point. Kenny Gainwell touchdown. That hurt. That hurt really bad.
Seeing Hurts run all those in was disappointing.
Would have got better if he gave two of them to Gainwell Sanders. But who am I to complain? Who am I to complain?
Exactly.
Hurts over 238 or 38 yards and 200.5. I'll be honest, that was free money. We both said Hurts was gonna a lot this game.
Crush that line.
And it wasn't even close. When I first saw that line, I'm his. Dallas Goedert had over receiving. Kelce did not have 2 touchdowns. It's not a field goal in each quarter because there wasn't one in the first quarter. And the Gatorade color we got wrong.
Purple.
I had the right idea, but the wrong color. Purple, not blue.
No, it's fun though. There was a lot of betting going on that day. I know a lot of people who won good money. I know a lot of people who lost a lot of money. But I was one of them that stayed pretty even. Awesome though. There's not a day like the Super Bowl in a year. There really isn't. And it stinks it only happens once a year. I still think there should be a petition to make the day after a holiday.
Absolutely. 100%.
I mean, not many people, so many people in this world are watching that game and having fun and doing whatever shenanigans they're doing. But another great Super Bowl in the books. And we just got to wait. Play the waiting game.
Oh, 100%. But I'll be honest with you. If you think that is the last we are doing on the show, you are sorely mistaken. Because throughout the rest year, sports seasons, we'll be giving you guys some of our favorite bets. And I don't know if Toomey do it today, but if he wants to do it today, some of our favorite bets for this upcoming week at the end of the show.
I always got something brewing.
We love to see it. So before we move on to the NBA, and man, I feel like I'm running out of breath. We are a ton of news today. Want to remind you guys once again, Creative Window Design Center is serving New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Florida. They are fully authorized Hunter Douglas dealer. Contact at 269-226-0391 free consultation. And all campus is giving 20% off everything in their store. Includes shirts to all their subscribers. Make sure to get in on that. NBA trade. It seems there are apparently a jinx on the show to me because Kevin Durant did get traded. We literally had said that Durant wasn't getting traded on here. Entire poll question dedicated to that Durant wasn't getting traded, and then a day later Kevin Durant got traded. So yeah. I think there's no place to start than that. What in the wind?
Now it's got me thinking, should we say Derek Carr is gonna pick someone in free agency?
I mean, if
we disagree with it, it's gonna happen.
It's like the Seinfeld quote. Stanza. If your instincts say that something's going to happen, opposite's probably true. I mean, we just got to start working with the reverse psychology here. Have an entire show dedicated to how Derek isn't going to choose the Jets, and then he's going to go to the.
But yeah, back to it. Kevin Durant was traded in what was already a pretty shocking trade deadline, and then he just blew it out the water. We thought Kyrie was one of the big names getting moved, and right out of nowhere, Kevin Durant took the spotlight.
Did I text you when that happened?
I think you did. And
I think
I was telling you during the week too. I was writing down all the trades that happened and everything, and that just got too much. I was like, I can't do this. I got the big ones down, and we'll go from there. I mean, even my Lakers made a move. But back to Durant. which is the big one. Whew.
It's always funny these trades happen because like for me, it's the same thing every time. I'm about to go to sleep. I'm literally closing all my electronics, and all of a sudden, a random notification pops up, and I read it, and I always think it's fake at first. Because I see the Phoenix Suns have agreed to acquire Kevin Durant. Check the phone. Up there's the check mark from Woj. Up this is Oh yeah, this actually happened. That 1:15 on a Wednesday night. That's why just
They like to do it. No, they like to get you going. They want you to stay up a little longer.
Oh man,
What I mean.
I don't get sleep anyway, so it's okay.
Just if the Suns just to throw my points on it, it was the blockbuster trade of the deadline. Nothing will top that. Nothing will come close. They were great trades that happened, but nothing that compares to Kevin Durant being moved. And just to touch on what happened, KD, the Suns got Kevin Durant, TJ Warren, and a bunch of unprotected picks, while the Nets received Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 first-round picks, and a 2028 pick swap.
The Suns did not unprotected picks. They gave up that. just to correct what you said.
What was it? Oh,
you said the Suns got unprotected picks. If the net unprotected picks too, that would have the same.
I read that wrong. Yes, those were the picks.
Yeah, but it's crazy package, man, and it's. I mean, as a New York sports show, it is legitimately one of, and I'll be real, like not to exaggerate, maybe the turn of events for a New York sports team in my life. The Nets are really the 2 seed at a point this season. In season, they blew up a chip contender. They traded both Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
And like we talked about last week, we were talking about the big threes and stuff and super teams. Now, we said super teams were dead. Super teams are happening, but it gets to the point where we were talking about too. The Nets were probably the biggest fail of a super team we've seen. Then we talked about that, losing Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden. Do you think there's anything that compares to that?
The failure of Brooklyn?
Yes.
No, because every team basically won a ring.
Yeah.
You could argue, the Warriors. The Warriors won a ring with it. The Heat won 3. They were probably the most successful one. The Celtics won 1. Do we even consider the Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant a big 3? I don't think they even played a full season together.
Oh, they did. I remember that vividly. Steve Nash hurt his back lifting sandbags. Kobe went down with the Achilles injury.
Yeah.
And it was left for Howard to face the Spurs in the first round. And they might have taken 1 game, but they lost in 5. For sure. They lost in 4 or 5, and that was the end of that. Didn't last well. But
that was full of Harden, Durant, and Kyrie Irving. It wasn't the level of 3 of the best damn players in the entire league.
Yeah. No.
And it blew up in a matter of months, maybe a year and some change. Houston probably salivating over this with all these unprotected Brooklyn Nets pick.
No, yeah, and it comes. Yeah, there's a lot of news about that team, and none of it good. Nothing ever came out that team was ever doing good, and is a complete fail. But now the Nets get to play rebuild again. We saw Cam Thomas has been doing great. Mikal Bridges is a good player. Cam Johnson, good player. They're middle-aged. They're around 26, 27. But now it comes down to this. I have Suns right now. They are, not only they're the best starting lineup in the league by far. No one compares to that. The talent on that starting 5. I think they become the number 1 contender in the West. I think many people do. And they put their name out there for the number 1 contender in the league. It might take a while for that chemistry to build with those guys. There's a lot of people on that team, especially guys who want the ball in their hands. And I don't know how their bench situation is, because usually we were talking about last week, you need a bench to win these big games. But those 5, I mean, he's got his own little Warriors again. He's got basically closest thing you can get to it.
Yeah, and the funniest part about all this is the power balance. The power balance in the NBA changed. The East is the weak conference now.
Oh yeah, what happened?
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy that Irving and Kevin Durant can shift the power balance like that. But looking at the standings, the only threats, the true threats, I feel like are Boston and Milwaukee.
Yes, they're the. I mean, now, I think with all this things we've been seeing with Philly sports, where they've been losing in every championship, are the Sixers a lock to make it to the NBA Finals and lose?
like we'll get into this as we look at more of trade deadline. Low key, the Knicks shot to make a run. One of the deeper rosters.
Who?
Knicks.
The Knicks.
You could argue the Cavs have a shot to make, because both those teams have shown they can beat and compete with Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Miami making more noise. So the craziest thing of like this trade and a few of these other ones, the balance has completely shifted, and all the East is wide open.
I still think the East is controlled by the top 2, but you know what? You can dream with the Knicks. You can dream. We'll let you dream.
I'm just dream. Look, saying, like, and obviously, like a 7-game series is completely different than a game, but the all I looking at standings, all these 7-8 teams have all shown they with each other. For Toronto has competed with Boston and Milwaukee. Like there's, I get it. Boston's an incredible route. They really are. So is Milwaukee. What I'm trying to say is they're head and shoulders above everybody in that conference anymore.
No,
that talent wise, in terms of actually on the court, Boston's never been a team for powered people like that.
No, that's a fair statement. It is. And we'll see the standings change, because obviously we will see the Nets fall from where they were. They'll completely fall out of the playoff picture. And then, it gives those teams like the Knicks, Heat, an opportunity to climb up, maybe try and catch. But right now, from looking at the standings, you got those top 4 right there who are battling out for those top 4 spots. And then you got teams playing catch-up. And like you said, the teams playing catch-up, they do have a chance. They do have talent. They do have some stacked rosters, and they can really make some moves. So the East is going to be interesting to look at. But just after the trade deadline, the West is the conference to look at.
Oh yeah, 100%. What trade do you want to look at next?
Do
you want to look at the Knicks one and then go wide NBA?
Yeah, let's go with Knicks.
Okay. So the Josh trade, Josh Hart was traded to the Knicks. I'm pretty sure it was Cam Reddish, Sivi Mal. I forget how it's his last name, but him, I think 2 other players and a protected first round pick. I'll look up the exact compensation right now, but you know, it's exactly what they needed. I truly think Josh Hart adds an element mix that they haven't had. It's a guard that can rebound, and he can also score. And we'll get to what he showed, but the package is Wish, Sivi, Malk, and Ryan Archiakida in a 2023 lottery protected first round draft pick for Josh Hart. Honestly, completely fine with that compensation. Completely fine with what the Knicks gave up because of the guy they got back. Josh Hart averages one of the high rebounding numbers guards. He showed that he can score at 27 in the victory over Brooklyn tonight. He brings that Tom Thibodeau loves. Tom Thibodeau has a very certain type of player. It's why Cam Reddish isn't playing, and it's why Josh Hart is playing a lot. And I bring up Knicks, and obviously half joking, half not joking with, they compete for the champion, but they're gonna have one of their defenses in the East, especially when they get Mitchell Robinson back. Eisenstein's completely rebounded. He's been a great protector and been a lot better on defense. Robinson has shown he can go toe to toe with Joel Embiid and other good centers, winners, when he is healthy. Most important thing about him, Julius Randle is having that year, and Jalen Brunson since a certified. Like I think it's fair enough to say that now. His addition to the Knicks has been imperative, considering that RJ Barrett's roller coaster is enough to give someone vertigo, and Randall, as good as he's been this year, has the where he just wants to shoot every shot, and he pass up a single shot that comes in the sight. Brunson has been, I guess, a stabilizing force. Quickly has been amazing too. Obi Toppin's been bench. You got now with more offense and more rebounding, which gives the Knicks more chances to score. You got. I wouldn't say you have a complete roster. You have a roster that's going to be able to compete with anyone, and that's why I love the trade so much.
No, yeah, I remember watching Hart with the Lakers. I was a fan of him. Just looking at his numbers, I recall seeing a couple days ago. His numbers are a little down on the scoring aspect of his game, but maybe a trade can do good for him. At least get a player who's going to play instead of Cam Reddish, who doesn't play for the Knicks, really. So it gives them an opportunity. It gets a good guy in the rotation. So I see it as a plus for them for sure. And as a Knicks fan, it looks like you're happy about it as well.
100%.
And you know what? The Blazers, that's funny because the Blazers just beat up on the Lakers last night too. So, and the Lakers, that's the next trade, I guess we can talk about.
Sidebar real quick. Juju Smith decided to post a meme on Twitter.
I did see that.
That I'll hold you when it matters most with James Bradbury, and now I don't feel took that too well because AJ Brown tweeted, first off, congratulations, y'all deserve it. This is lame. He's on the way league before Mahomes resurrected your 1 year deal. TikTok boy admitted that he grabbed you bazona. You are like that or ever was, but congrats again. Something tells me the NFL might be scheduling this game for week 1 just a hunch.
No, yeah, and that's a lot for a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster to make a statement like that. But I guess it's all in fun and games. But AJ Brown has every right to say what he just said, and he's completely correct. I even put Juju's numbers down there. Did I? When I was talking about the Super Bowl, I was putting down notable players, and Juju was the next best receiver for the Chiefs. But even then, I didn't see him he had good catches, made good plays, but not the impacts that players like AJ Brown and the other guys have. So, but I do like that week 1. Oh my God, that makes sense completely already. Just because the Super Bowl is such a great game,
and like they're to play each other, like next season, and it's like I'll be real. The Eagles are the last team you chip on their shoulder. Oh man, yeah. Why have to do that, Juju?
Yeah, right.
Come on, too soon. Agreed. Yeah. What you want to talk Lakers trade?
Yeah, I'll touch on that real fast, and then we can get into other stuff. This I think was, I guess, the third biggest trade of the offseason or the trade deadline. I'd say the Kyrie one was second. This one third. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So with that, the Lakers received D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt. They actually played last night. I think D'Lo might have played the day before too. So they're in the roster. From all my Laker pages I follow, they're liking D'Angelo already. They're liking Jared Vanderbilt as well. So that's good news for the Lakers. Really add the depth. They're so behind right now though, so I don't know what they're gonna do because they got to start winning. And we could touch on real quick. LeBron got his points. Woohoo! They're still losing. Doesn't matter. With that, the Timberwolves received Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and picks. I think Mike Conley does better than what D'Lo did in Minnesota. Gets a guy who's more pass first rather than shoot with D'Lo. So I think that's good for them. And then the big piece is the Jazz. They get Russell Westbrook. Finally, Westbrook's not a Laker anymore. That's awesome. And they left bad blood. I know you saw it. Some of the statements the guy made, I think that's a little rough for an analyst to be making statements like that. But maybe
what calling a guy a vampire? That's not too much.
Rough. And then his wife came out, but we're not gonna get into that. It's gross. But it does get Russ out of LA, which was long overdue. They also receive Juan Toscano Anderson, Damian Jones, and the Lakers 2027 first round pick. I guess the big thing that the Jazz get with that is they get a lot of picks and a bright future. They have this young core they like. They're sticking with Markkanen and Sexton. They got a ton of cap and they got a ton of picks. The future could be bright for the Jazz. It's a good sign. I think it's brighter than the Lakers because I don't see the Lakers. They got to pull their heads out of there, you know what, to really make something happen. So really, I think the winner of this trade is the Jazz because they get all this. They have two young, good players in Markkanen and Sexton and all the cap and picks I just said. Timberwolves, I said, get that pass first point guard. And the Lakers get 3-point shooters and a guy like Vanderbilt who can take over in the paint a little more. So big trade for, I think, all teams. It works out. And I guess we'll see where Russ goes. I think Russ is still maybe on the move. They might buy him out or something. But from now, that's it. And the Lakers get what they want. I think every team wins in this situation.
Yeah. So what standings? The standings are actually low-key hilarious because it's like after the Lakers, there's like two, and then it's the Spurs and Rockets battling Bayama. Because Lakers are 14 games out of first, and the Spurs are 26, which is quite frankly ridiculous. The Spurs, I know we'll probably get into this trade. They traded Pirtle. I was surprised that they gave up, but not entirely surprised at the same time. To be completely real, I mean, honest opinion, Lakers are only 4 games out of the 7th seed.
Yeah.
Do you think they have a win streak in them where they can jump OKC, Utah, Golden State, Minnesota, and maybe even, or are you aware of they might not make the playoffs again?
I think the best thing that can happen for the Lakers is this chemistry starts to build into something. News for them today, AD did something with his Instagram. Don't know what that means. I think he just like unfollowed everything or just shut it down. Maybe that's just him focusing. I don't know. He's been getting a lot of hate lately due to the LeBron scoring title, with him not standing up and cheering. I don't know. But it comes down to it. They've been so just up, down all year. I mean, they beat the Warriors the other day. Then they come out and they lose to the Blazers last night, I think it was. So there's really 4 games, that's not that hard. That's not that tough. Get on a little streak. We've seen teams do it. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up in like that 10-9 spot and have to do the play-in. So that's somewhere I can see them falling. But there's a lot of talent and a lot of good teams in that West, especially now. So they do have a lot of climbing to do, and there's not a lot of teams that are going to want to lose their spot there. So it's going to be tough for them.
Well, I'm looking at their schedule. They're gonna have a shot right away because tomorrow night they got the Pelicans. Then All-Star break. Then they have go to the All-Star break. Their schedule goes Golden State, Dallas, Memphis, OKC, Minnesota, Golden State, Memphis. And 5 of those games, guess what? You're probably the 10 seed, probably a play-in team. It right away, right into it. If they can get on a streak out of the you're in a great position.
No, they really do. And all it takes is just winning. They gotta start winning. Obviously, that's how you make the playoffs. You win. The All-Star break, I think, could be good for this team. Just to formulate a plan of how the shows will be run for the remainder of the season. So that's good that that's happening fairly soon, and maybe they can prove us something. I mean, they need to do something, or else this is just another failed trade where things don't happen. But it's a lot of we'll see.
All right. So what move you want to look at next? As I'm then pulled up, we forgot to mention Savvy Malchuk did get rerouted to Charlotte because that trade was the Knicks trade with Josh Hart was looped into the Jalen McDaniels deal, where the Sixers received McDaniels, second round picks. The Hornets received Savvy, along with a 2023 second and a 27 second. Received the Reddish, Thibault, Archiakido, and a 2023 first. And the Hart was acquired by the Knicks. Just for comedy purposes, we should touch on the Clippers getting Eric Gordon because John Wall got back to the Houston Rockets. And if you have been following anything along those lines, the week before, John Wall basically came out, he hated his time in Houston. So sucks for him, but the irony is flowing there.
It's I actually didn't even see this happen. That's funny. And I just got waived.
Yeah, Eric I think is a good addition for the Clippers. It's back where he started. It's more another depth addition at they're gearing up to make a bit of a run. Sure, they made another move to acquire. Let's see who it was. They added Mason Lay and traded away Reggie Jackson. And the Clippers adding some depth, trying to make a bit of Kawhi and Paul George as they've probably ever been, at least in a Clippers uniform.
I know. I think Clippers fans are excited to get Aaron Gordon, but I think they might be a little upset with that Reggie Jackson trade. I know he's been a big part of that team for a long time. Obviously, they haven't won anything with him, but he's been a big role player for them for a bunch of years. So I could see that being a little upsetting to Clippers fans. But Mason Plumlee, hey, get a big body. I know they like Ivica Zubac as a center, and Plumlee's they go neck and neck. I think they're pretty similar players.
So what's the trade you want to touch?
Like I told you, those were the big three I wrote down. I guess we can touch on the Gary Payton. Did that happen? What's in that?
Yeah. I want this one. Is this the one right here? Yeah. So this is a very interesting trade. The Pistons, who love their bust centers, they acquired James Wiseman, which, all fairness to Wiseman, I don't think Warriors really used him right. They kind of were moving him all over the place and not time to actually develop. But they are a champ, so it's hard. Warriors received Gary Payton, 3 conditional second. Hawks received Sadiq. Blazers received Kevin Knox and 5 future second round picks. Enough. Kevin Knox goes to the same team as Cameron Reddish, who were both traded for each other last year. So the more you know.
Exciting stuff. Riveting. Knox wasn't even a Knick anymore. I found that out the other day.
It's been like a year.
He had a good time with New York, didn't he? Better than Cam Reddish. Well, besides that, are there any trades that are on your mind with that?
I just think the Gary is it's low-key the most hilarious thing that I've seen in the sports world in a minute. That the Blaze lied about Payton's health. They were potentially shooting him up. Obviously, some of this is getting refuted because teams are never going to say, yeah, we were shooting our player with Toradell before games. Everything's fine. Yeah. And this is a conversation can be expanded upon outside the NBA sports in general. I'm surprised it doesn't happen often. When teams are trying to trade a player and tell a team that the guy's hurt. And I know you have the medical records and things, but I feel like that's more of like a gamesmanship thing that doesn't happen enough. But at the same time, see why it does happen, because the Warriors could have had the entire deal, which would have blew it up for not just them and the Blazers, but also the Pistons and the Hornets. I'm pretty sure it was the Hornets at least. Let me double check that. Hawks.
Yeah, that's something I've never seen that before, where the player's painkiller use gets brought up in a trade, but then his agent came out and said he's never taken it, so it's a little weird subject. Is there still a timetable? Did he get moved or no?
No, the trade went through and he's out for like 2 months, I'm sure.
Oh wow.
Or something, or at least a month.
Wow. So yeah, interesting. That's very interesting stuff, for sure.
Always is. So I think that really surmises the extent of what the trade deadline was. Went from being honestly underwhelming to, hey, 2 of the biggest superstars in the league got moved from the same team. Let's have some fun with this. But going forward, we're going to have as much coverage on basketball as we can. Updates on the Lakers, Knicks, the rest of the league, how playoff race is shaping up, because that's what we're gearing towards after the All-Star break, which is coming next weekend or this weekend. It is next weekend, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. After All-Star weekend next weekend, we are heading home stretch, which is kind of crazy to think about, because we're already in the middle of February.
Yep. Games start up again on the 23rd.
Gonna be very exciting. So stick with us throughout the rest of the NBA season. And now it's time to talk some hockey, because the New York Rangers, as we approach the NHL trade deadline, which, David, I saw your comment. We were progressing towards there, which is why I didn't bring it up earlier. New York Rangers for Vladamir Tarensenko. And wow, I was completely caught off guard when this trade accepted, because Tarensenko, one of the best players, one of the best goal scorers, and the trade terms was St. Louis received Blaze, which sidebar, not score a goal in his entire new tenure. The first game he's back with St. Louis, he scores, as you will. Traded Blaze, prospect Skinner, a conditional first-round pick in this year's draft, round pick in the 24 draft for Tarensenko and defenseman Nico Mikola. I feel like it's a very fun way to say that last, and I would yell it a bit more, but I'm not doing that. I don't want to hurt Toomey's ears. So, glance to me. What is this trade?
Yeah, no. I love talking hockey on this. It's probably one of my favorite things to talk about on this show. So when it comes to it, they get a prolific goal scorer in Tarensenko. That really is it. He's getting up there in age. He's not old. He's still in his prime. I know the big thing this year with him was he's coming off a hand injury, but he's been playing fine. I know his first game with the Rangers, I believe he scored, didn't he?
He did. Yes.
Beat up on a good Hurricane team, which was insane. I saw that. I was shocked. And that's scaring me as a Devils fan. But, hey, they get a good player in Tarensenko, and hopefully that's going to be big for their playoff push. Because right now they're in the playoffs, and they were one of the bottom teams. They were the bottom team in the Metro, but getting a guy like Tarensenko in that offense can really shoot them up. I think this is great for the Rangers. It made some other players upset, as we've seen this week. Patrick Kane, not too happy with the Rangers. I don't know where he saw his I don't know where they deserved, or I don't know why he feels like he deserved this, or just like how they earned his respect for like not to pick him over them. But I don't know.
I'm glad you brought that up because Patrick is willing to accept a trade to Toronto or the Rangers. So if the Rangers add Patrick Kane too, I mean that offense is just I'll be real with you. I don't even know how the lines work out at that point if you get Patrick Kane too. There's too much offense at that point.
Yeah, it would shift some things for a bit, and the team might be a little shaky at start, but it would get dangerous, and that would really upset me as a team as a Devils fan for sure.
And also to your point about the Metro, it's like a 3-team race because the Rangers have an 8-point lead on.
No, it's and then when I get into Devils news, we can talk about that. But no, it really is. The Metro is very locked in on those top 3 right now. Capitals are there. We won't disregard.
Right. Of course.
They beat the Bruins the other day, which was a big win for them. But then they came out the loss the next night to, I think it was San Jose. So not gonna say it was a fluke, but back-to-back's tough. But yeah, no, it's those top 3 teams, and it's gonna be a fun finish. All-Star break's over. We got through that, and the Rangers want to bolster that roster, and that's scary to see.
It probably helps the Rangers are on a 5-game win streak.
Yep.
And their past 2 games, looking at, they beat let's face a pretty good Kraken team.
Yep.
Which in the West they would be a playoff team right now, tied with the Oilers at 65. They beat them 6-3.
Yep.
And then to their most recent game, they beat the 6-2. And when I saw that one, I was, oh man, this is a different team. This their offense. You add Harris line with Panarin and Zibanejad already. You have the kid line with Kakko. Kakko is really to his own, and Lafreniere is starting to pick it up a little bit. Then you Strider. You still have Goodrow. They came out. They might trade their prospect Kravtsov, which who knows what return that nets. I guess there's been with that, but this is firing on all cylinders. And if Igor's playing like Igor can, and their defense, doesn't have as much pressure as the Rangers just have an avalanche of goal scorers, it's a team that could go on a very good down the stretch.
Oh yeah, they are. As of right now, if at the end of the day, they're playoff ready and they are a dangerous team in the playoffs, as I think are all teams in the East, like I've been saying it the whole time. When you talk about a team like they beat the Kraken, good team in the West, I don't think anyone in the West can compete with anyone in the East right now. And that's where it just gets into. I mean, the Devils beat the Kraken too. I'll throw that out there last week.
Oh yeah, but and like to your point too, in the Atlantic, and Toronto and Tampa are all juggernauts.
Oh yeah.
In the Metro, kind of New Jersey, New York are all juggernauts. Argue that I mean currently the wildcard teams, the Capitals and the Penguins are ridiculous too. The Islanders battling for position. So those are all in teams. The Islanders just traded for Bo Horvat. Like yeah. They're on the upswing.
They're trying.
Hockey's going to be very, very alert down the line. I'm very, very.
No, for sure. There's in the East, it's gonna be a battle of the East. I mean, I don't want to jinx it now, like we were saying with I was saying with the NFL. NFC's going to win the Super Bowl. I think the East is going to win the Stanley Cup in hockey, but hopefully that doesn't change because hopefully it gives teams. But I guess I could jump into some Devils news.
Well, let's do it.
All right. Well, the news, I think it was Wednesday, right after the show, or maybe that night, got the terrible news that Jack Hughes is week to week for the Devils. Upper body issue. It's been a week already now. Haven't really seen much news on that at all. But it gets to the point where it opens the eyes of Devils fans already that they've seen an issue at the center position. And this just clears that up instantly because, one, Jack Hughes, hell of a hockey player. not really a good center. It gets to the point where why Nico Hischier has a C on his chest and Jack Hughes doesn't is because Nico is an all-around great player, can play defense, offense, does it all, playmaker. When it comes to Jack Hughes, he's a goal scorer, not really good at face-offs. I think I saw a stat where he's the worst at face-offs of any center in the league. And it gets to the point now that the Devils need a center. We needed one before Jack Hughes went down, but now we really need one because it really leaves a hole. So when it comes up to it, two guys that I'm looking at as a fan right now, Ivan Barbashev, just getting his name out there. A center, Devils need a guy. He's on the move. He wants to leave, and his name's been talks in a while. So that's a guy I'm looking for. Another guy, Adam Henrique. He was on the Devils way back on that 2012 team that was very good. And that's just a guy that hasn't really been in any talks or anything, but wouldn't be a bad idea for the Devils to go after and trade for. And just the hope for the Devils right now is just chip away. You got to chip. You got to try and get points. You got to go into the game mindset that you are a man down and a very important man, an MVP caliber player, and you just got to chip away. Luckily, they won their first game since he was out. Then the next game, they lost a good one in OT, but luckily they got the point. But you can't let those Rangers catch up. You got to keep the pace, and a trade is incoming for them. Another name, Timo Meier, has been on the trade talks for them for a while, and Timo Meier is going to be going somewhere. He's a talented player that any team would be lucky to get. So that's the news for them right now. And hopefully they can turn this around. Hopefully Jack can get back as soon as possible. Been a week already. Hopefully it sticks to like the 2, 3, 3, 4 week range for him. But we also want Devils fans want Hughes on the ice at full strength. No need to get him out there injured.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if the Devils open up enough ground, some of the back games where their playoff hopes are most likely locked in to an extent. I think it's important making sure that your best goal scorer is ready to roll. I think that the funniest thing with the NHL is I don't think I've ever seen players in a league open with their trade request. Like Patrick Kane's literally coming out and I wish New York traded for me.
Yeah.
Imagine if and we'll put this in a different perspective. Imagine Lamar Jackson just randomly came out. It's like I was in Atlanta. Dude, every sports talk show would be about it. Lamar Jackson says he wants Atlanta Falcons. What does this mean for Baltimore? Is he leave? 1,500 different you could run with that story. Patrick Gaines said, "Oh, I want to be." It's like yeah, I'm disappointed in trade for me.
No, yeah, it gets the thought too. Is that? I'm guessing not, but NBA, NBA has always had an issue with, or they think they have an issue with people not conspirizing, but
tampering.
Does that count as tampering? It's the closest thing to it. If it's not,
no. It's. I feel like it's borderline. Isn't in that case where a player is initiating that contact?
Exactly. No, it is. It's like.
So it's not other teams. No, I don't think it is tampering because that's Kane wishes getting traded.
Yes.
Versus they're talking to him without the blackout during the season.
Good point. No, yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen that in any where a player actually brings up a team's name and like, I wish I went there. Pick me.
I mean, to give an example, right? I'd be like Anthony Davis just tweeting Chicago star eye emoji 3 times, not like something like saying I want to be in Chicago.
Yes. No. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
It's very, 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 very interesting. So, where do you want to go from here?
I guess I have one more just hockey news thing to talk about, and then we can go to MLB, talk about some baseball, or I could talk about. I have a bunch of talking points. I can get to that. I mean, we got 15 minutes left. I guess with the last hockey news is defenseman Jacob Chitrin, 24-year-old defenseman for the Coyotes. Solid player, has a good career or something going on, but he wants out. He's sitting out until he gets traded in this season.
I did see this as well.
28 points in 36 games. Looking through his numbers and stuff, he's never played, I think, more than 60 games in a season. Don't know what that's due to look into it. But from what I'm hearing, solid defenseman, wants to get moved. So it just brings up who's going to pick him up. A lot of time for the trade deadline. We still got 17 days until the trade deadline. So a lot can happen, and a lot's going to happen.
Exactly. But said with all the other sports, we will be throughout the entirety of the season. Stay more hockey talk. We love getting into the show early in the show, whenever we get to it. So stay tuned for more. So now it's time to talk baseball. Spring training guys are reporting. Very, very, very exciting.
Pitchers and catchers is happening.
Yeah, your CEOs are like for the Mets, Verlander. Yep. You got Senga there. You got some of the players already working there. Exciting. It's way warmer in Jersey. It should be. It's getting me excited for baseball.
Oh yeah, no, and it's funny, right when football ends and boom, now we're talking baseball now, and everyone's talking baseball now. It's kind of like the groundhog poked his head. And we're talking about new things, but no, yeah. I know with the Mets, I don't think there's not much news, but it's exciting for a Mets fan to see Scherzer and Verlander showing up to camp together. That's awesome. Yankees, I know a couple notable names showed up to spring training early. We had MVP Aaron Judge taking BP. LeMahieu was seen taking reps at third base. I know Gleyber Torres was there. IKF was there, and of course, head honcho Coach Boone was seen at spring training. And yeah, it's exciting. Get the guys back on the field. Hopefully good things come from it. In other Yankees news, Nestor Cortez was supposed to be pitching in the World Baseball Classic. Had to cut his name from the roster. Has a grade 2 right hamstring strain. Says he'll be out 2 weeks, and he plans to be ready for the start of the season. So that's the good news with that. But I guess the other news is just the new rules the MLB brought in.
Oh yeah.
Those? Have you seen on Twitter this new the new bases they brought up?
It's fun. Like I was about to bring this up. Like I wish I could show it on what I have, but these bases, man, they look so much bigger. It's weird.
Yeah, I think it's 18 by 18. I think I heard.
And I'm okay with that because to cause less injuries, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And the baseball players like, we can't change the bases. Honestly, if this leads to more steals, and less injuries, I'm all for it.
More exciting
because the more small ball, the more action there is, the better baseball is.
And we both played baseball. We know how much a snap could change a play. There's going to be a lot more stolen bases. And again, like you said, a lot less injuries running. And that's maybe so everything's still 90 feet away. I don't know.
Did they change the measurements? I thought it was just the size.
There's no way they tamper.
Okay.
But it's gonna make it a little easier. So right bags, a little more room to grab, a little more. You can probably take a bigger lead. So things are definitely gonna change in that aspect.
Man, if I had bigger base, I'd probably have like three more stalls.
I'd still be playing.
Oh. We were never the most fleet of foot.
I guess the other rule that I just saw came out was the very random. Don't even know why they even brought this into thing, but the position player pitching. You see that?
No, I didn't. So the only two I saw were they fully implemented ghost run permanent rule.
Yep.
And the base size. So what's the position player one?
That they came out with position players are only allowed to pitch if their team is down by 8 in the 9th, or if their team's winning by 10 in the 9th. And there's one more rule in there that I missed, but I don't even know why they even brought that up to be a rule. I
think what's curb just basically teams conceding in the sense of like you're basically giving up this game. You don't want to burn any pitchers. Like they probably a rating induced type thing where you never know, team could always come back. Whereas like if you're doing it the game's already over, there's no point in burning pitchers in the ninth inning.
Yeah, and that goes into that now. Now, I mean, not many times do position players really go into pitch. We saw it an okay amount last year, but it doesn't happen often.
No,
not at all. So it's just something weird that I just saw that they even brought that rule, how that even became a discussion, but it did, and now that implemented.
I'm interested how much are they going to enforce that? Because remember, we had the mandatory pitcher checks, and all of a sudden here they just stopped doing it.
They got a little less lenient with it, for sure. But
you mean more lenient?
More lenient, yes. Correct.
Oh, good. And then we ghost runner. I'm fine within the regular season.
I like it, and I have reasons behind that. It's when it comes to these teams, the issues at the end of the year it gets down to is pitching health, the health of the relievers, health of these starters. So it does a good job keeping these guys at moderate pitching levels throughout the season, so they don't have to go through a 17-inning extra game.
Right.
Makes the games quicker in the sense of that they're not going there. But for the playoffs, no. If they ever implement that in the playoffs, I think fans would be very upset with that.
Yeah, that's how I see it. You know, the only way I don't want Ghost Runner is like if the 12th season got shortened to, let's say, 120 games, 100 games, where you're condensing it. In that case, there's less games. Just have the regular rule. If you're gonna stick to a 100 game season, you gotta have stuff implemented that keeps guys healthy. Simple as that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I would, as a fan, I'd be upset if they switched the games by too much for sure. Regular season.
You know, I not to cut you off.
No, you're good. No.
If they were to lower the game amount, what's the number you would want? Personally, like a 150, 130 range.
Nothing drastic. That 150 would work. 130 would be maybe a little pushing it, but I think it'd still work. I mean, these guys play a lot of games and they play every day.
Right. Because I feel like maybe this isn't as baseball purist as some people would like, but I don't know if a hunt is necessary.
It's definitely not necessary because you can really decide who the best teams in the league are and who's going to make a big push at way less of games. But I don't know. They've been doing it forever. It's
like maybe a takeaway like 20, have it 60. I feel like that's a good number. 30's probably the more I'm thinking about it, probably the max.
If they bring that up, if they ever put that in discussion, they definitely discuss it. It's just if anything ever comes of it, hopefully not.
And then also to the point, right? You chop off 20 games. You're starting games in warmer weather because you have a lot of northern based teams. You're probably not running into as many arm issues. You're probably not running into as many pulled hamstring quads, pulled lats.
We've played baseball in the Northeast for a long time. It doesn't warm up until May, maybe end of April.
This thing right here,
shot,
not good shape. not good shape at all. So I definitely feel that.
I guess the only other news is baseball is the World Baseball Classic is starting up in the beginning of March. So we get to watch some competitive baseball early. So that's fun. See the top stars, go at it against each other. So that's be to watch. But besides that, we're waiting. Spring training is right around the corner. Excited to see it. A lot of prospect news is going to come out. Especially I know the Mets have a ton of prospects that could definitely make the starting roster. Yankees, hopefully they do as well, but I think they're going to stick to their old way. But I guess we'll find out, and we'll report it.
Exactly. We are covering baseball here as well, guys. Don't forget that. It's been a while, but we will be covering that. So on that note, is there anything else you want to add? We ready to close it out.
I do have one last thing for anyone listening, if they care at all. Waste Management was this week, and it was awesome to watch. It was, I guess, if anyone was in Arizona, it was probably the greatest weekend of all time. You had the Waste Management, you had the Super Bowl, all near each other. You saw big stars going from the Waste Management to the Super Bowl. It's awesome to see. Scotty Scheffler pulled off the win. Very dominant performance. It was kind of like opening day, it seemed, for golf. It's pretty cool. I know they have events in like January and before this, but it really seemed like the full start of the season. So that's awesome to see. I love watching golf. And the big news in golf is Tiger Woods. If I know everyone loves Tiger, he will be coming back next week to compete in the Genesis Invitational. First time playing in a long time, so that'll really bring viewers in, and can't wait. Weather's warming up. It's making everything better. Got all these sports coming out. A lot of good things coming. Maybe we'll do one of these outside one day, no?
What wouldn't be opposed? Just would have to account for a lot of wind. But I think the golf talk to you, because I think if you ever saw me swing a golf club, I'd be like, yeah, he definitely played baseball.
I'll be the golf expert, I guess. I watch all the time. I nothing better. Relaxing Sunday, watching some golf.
And I guess the last thing to add as well. Toomey's going to be the golf guy. I'll be the UFC guy.
There we go.
Alexander Volkanovski lost to Djokovic. Incredible fight. A little bit of controversy now, potentially with IV hydrate usage. We also had Yair Rodriguez claim the lightweight. Most likely a fight between him and Volkanovski at some point this year. Love FC. Toomey loves golf. Great sport. Maybe we'll start incorporating more of that into the show. On that note, that brings us to the end of it. Guys, for joining us on another one. Stay tuned for more of us as we prepare. And the next coming a lot of football news, free agency talk. Going to be from the combine about different prospects. Are looking at the Giants are looking at the Giants there, because not really much surround yet. Knicks, Rangers, Islanders, Devils, Nets, all heading towards the play in their season, heading into and out of All-Star. So we got a lot coming up, and we're excited. I'm excited to bring it to you guys. I mean, it's excited to bring it to you guys. So yeah, that's about it.
I'm excited. Let's do it. Follow us. Let's do it. We're ready to report it.
Exactly. So for Ryan Toomey and the Pockers, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Thank you guys for joining us. Catch you next time.